Hello and welcome to Control-Delete Tutorials. My name is Jason, and in a previous video I had shown how to do some projection mapping where we went from a high poly model to a low poly model. Well, what I want to show today is how do we create that low poly retopologized model from our high poly model. So I'm going to use this model here, and what I've done is I've brought in an image reference that shows us what proper topology in a face can look like. Now, granted, this can vary on from face to face depending on if we have a very cartoony face, very realistic face, but the idea that we're looking for is these colored sections that we have here are showing edge loops and proper topology for around the eyes, around the nose, around the mouth, and even ones that go around the head, down along the chin, and then also the ones around the nose and mouth. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that this character is going to have exactly the same topology, but this is something we can use as a reference. If you want to know how I brought this reference in, I just went to my materials and I loaded in the bitmap image, and I created this image in Photoshop from an image that I found online, just looking up head and face topology on Google. And I've used this reference before. It's a very nice reference. But then what I can do is go into my environment and I can plug this node directly into here. And I want to make sure that my mapping of this image is set to screen. And then all I have to do is go to my tab here, drop down to viewport background, and just set it to environment background. Now, I also went in and set my render settings to be exactly the same dimensions as the image, so that way they fill this space. And that way I can see this off to the side and I can work over here. So in order to do the retopology, we have to have our object be an editable poly. Now, I've already got this set up, but by default you're probably going to see this saying grid. So this is the draw on section. Now I've changed it to where we can draw on a surface, and then I can pick my high poly surface, and that'll load it up there. I also want to offset just by a little bit. So I'm doing 0.3. This number could vary depending on the size of your model. So what this will allow us to do is when we create the retopology, all of the polygons will be created slightly above, raised above the surface of this model. So the next part we want to do is we want to create a low poly mesh. So I'm going to create a new object, and it's going to create this box 001, and I'll just go ahead and name this low poly. So we have that there, and this creates a brand new image that, brand new object that doesn't have any vertices or polygons or anything. The other nice thing about this is that it's going to line up perfectly with this. So if I look at this object and I turn on my grid and we look down here at the X, Y, and Z, we can see that the X, Y, and Z are all set to 0 for this object. And if I go to my low poly object here, it's also set at 0, 0, 0. So what's nice about this is I can start making this object, and then I can symmetry over the other half so I can see it generate the other side at the same time. And I'll show you how we'll do that. So first off, we're going to start with step build. Now I'm going to stop here for a second just so you guys can see the shortcuts that are here, and feel free to pause the video and kind of look at these, or just highlight over yours in 3ds Max. And these are the shortcuts that we will be using, and I'll try to mention them as I use them. And then the extend tool is the other one we're going to use. Same idea. Go ahead and pause the video, look over the shortcuts there so that you have those. So the way I'm going to start is I'm going to start with step build. And so the way I like to start is normally I'm going to start with the edge loops around the eyes. Okay, so I have this flap that kind of from the brow that hangs over. So this part here is going to get very narrow going around this part of the eye. So what's nice about step build, if I just click I create a vertex floating in air. And we can see that that vertex is slightly away from the reference mesh. Okay, so I can create 4. So just like most polygon modeling, I want to stick to 4-sided shapes. And then I can use the shortcut Shift and drag between these to create a polygon. And again, that polygon is going to be slightly raised away from it, which is nice. And that's kind of just how I'll start this tool. Now, I could sit here and click and drag and click out the next one and drag, but that's a little more time consuming than what I need to do. I can also move these vertices around the surface by hitting Shift, Control, Alt all together, and then dragging these around, just moving. And they will stick to the surface, which is nice. But I'm going to switch over to the Extend tool. So the reason I like the Extend tool is now all I have to do is shift and drag out an edge, Control Alt, shift and drag to move the vertices. Okay, we'll do that again. Shift and drag, Control Alt Shift and drag to move the vertices. And I'm just trying to kind of line these up where the brow starts. Okay, Shift drag, Shift drag. Okay, move these in a little. Shift drag. And the idea with our edge loops is they are going to loop all the way around. So the same edge, if I hit F4, we're going to see all the polygons here, but all of these edges that I create are going to work their way around the mesh. And these edges will loop all the way around and meet back where they started. So I'll do another one here. Shift drag this down. Now I do have a tutorial where I show how to make a head, and I'm basically doing what I do in that video, but in this one I'm using a reference, which makes it a lot faster. But you need the reference to be able to use these tools. And you can use any high poly mesh to do this. Okay, so now I can start dragging out this way. Whoops, kind of getting off of where I'm going here with these. Come on, Control Shift. Meant to have that around there. So now this is going to follow this part of the eyelid. So just kind of zoom back in, and I'm going to go a little quicker here. Whoa. I want to watch where we're dragging from. It is going to try to drag from the nearest polygon, so we just kind of have to watch that. Okay. And this is a large file, so it does autosave, and it takes a little while to autosave this. So that's why we see what's going on there. Okay. And I'll bring this part up. Kind of move these around a little. All right, so now I get to the point where I need to bring these ones around more. So I'm just kind of making some minor adjustments here. Okay, so I'm going to create one more for here. And then to close this up, now I could go back to my normal tools and select the edges here. This one, and I could bridge. Bridge down here. Okay, could do that. The other thing I could do is if I want to stay in the tool that I'm using, I can just come back to Step Build, hold Shift, and drag between here. And now this does sometimes happen with this. Sometimes we just have to move some of these away so it knows exactly where it's building from. Yeah, so sometimes it's going to give you some issues where it just doesn't really know exactly what you want. Yeah, so it's having a difficult time here. I want to make sure I haven't created any weird edges. I haven't. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and do it manually. Just go into Bridge. That's easy enough. Okay, and that doesn't mess anything up. I can go right back into my tools here and keep going. But now when I go to extend, I have some other things that I can kind of use. So if I drag out one section here to start the next part, so let's say I go a little bit further. Now, when I'm in extend, if I just click and drag from this corner, I'll create a polygon from there. And this really starts making it faster. And we can kind of work our way around this way. And I can kind of keep my edge loops going here. Now the important thing is we have this corner to work from. We have edges on both sides, so it drags from both. If I don't have this and I try to do this, this happens. We don't want that. Okay. So this is where the brow will start to kind of come out. Oh. And I'll probably move some of these around a little bit just to give me a little bit more space here for these. Kind of pull those back. That way I have a little bit more to work from these edges. And I'll just keep working around there. And let's see if step build will allow us to do this. So I hold shift. Okay, that time it worked. Okay. So we can kind of see what we have going on there. We can come back in and start making adjustments. You know, if we need to pull these areas back a little bit. Pull those back. Like that. All right, so now I can just kind of keep working this way. Or I can go to step build and I can start working on another area. So I want edge loops also to come around the mouth. So, oh, and the other thing that I can do is if I right click, that's going to get me out of the tool. So I'm going to go to mirror and I'm going to create an instance object. I'm going to say OK. And so this object is going to be the exact mirror of my other one. I'll go ahead and just make it green so I know it's a separate mesh. And I won't end up using this one attaching. I'll use the symmetry tool when I get finished up with this. But if I go back into the tool and I go to step build, and I'm going to get as close as possible as I can to the middle of this without really hitting the middle. But I'm going to again create 4 vertices. And we'll see it creates the ones on the other side for me. And I just shift and drag. Okay. And then I can use Control-Alt-Shift. I'll let our autosave kind of happen here. I could turn off autosave, but I don't want to lose any of my work. So I can just kind of move these as close as I can get them to the middle there. And that way I can just kind of keep working. So I just go back to extend. Now I will see this kind of pop through. That's fine. I don't have to worry about that. And I'll do the same idea here. So I just kind of shift drag around. And kind of make adjustments here to cover more of the mouth. Shift drag down. I normally like to have the crease here come to an edge. And then I'll start down around the other way. And I can always add in, you know, more polygons when I need them. And so this guy's mouth kind of narrows here and then widens again around this way. So shift drag. I also typically try to have the same amount of polygons on this half up to the crease and down here at the bottom. Right now I'm just kind of doing it to do it. And then we'll have the final one here, which I'll just drag out. And then I'll Control Alt Shift, move those in. And again, I just try to get these as close as possible. And that gives me that part. So now I can do the same idea. I just have to Shift drag up one section. And then I'll left click and drag to get the mid. And then I can just follow that around. And I would just follow the topology of the face here, kind of as much as I can. And the nice part is since this always deforms and basically almost just sticks to the face, it makes it really easy to make adjustments to it. And then I'll get my last one there. Okay. Then the idea would be working from one part here down. So I could start dragging this down and creating polygons that kind of lead their way down the face and setting those up. And then trying to figure out where exactly these are going to go to match up. And I go to Step Build, and I can kind of finish that out. So I can take these and start bringing them down. The other thing you can do is you can drag out whole sections here. So if we go to Extend and we look, we'll see that there is a shortcut that says Control-Shift-Drag to drag an edge out to get the entire loop. So if I do that, oh, no, don't do that. Let's go back here. I accidentally turned the tool off there. Okay, so Shift, Control, and drag, and that gives me the whole edge loop here. Okay, and then all I got to do is I'll move these close and I'll target weld them after. Let's see. I was making sure there wasn't a shortcut for just welding them. So just to weld them, I can just go back to vertex mode, target weld, and target weld these. Target weld, there we go. Target weld there, and target weld down there. So I can just drag out whole sections here, which makes this easy. And that's Control, Shift, and drag. And I could drag out a couple groups of those, and that makes it really easy to deal with. Let's see how that's going there. So Control Shift drag. Oh, hold on. For some reason it's taking that section. I see what it's doing. Okay. While it was auto-saving there, it had drug out another set of edges, which we want to avoid doing. Control Shift gives me the whole edge, and then I just start moving these around. Let's put these as close as I can get them for now. And I'd basically keep working that way. That's basically how this whole thing works. I'm going to open up another file that I have that has this basically done, just so you can see it. And then it'd be a good idea if you check out the projection mapping video, so that way you can see exactly what I did in that video. So I'm just going to open the Ogre back up here, and we'll just go to the start that I used for the setup for that. All right, so I'm going to hide my high poly here. I'm going to just delete it for now. And so this is the, get rid of my projection map. So this is the low poly mesh that I created using this. And this one's about just under 3,000 triangles. So it's definitely a lot lower than the 1,000,000 polygon one that we had. But that's going to wrap it up for this video. Hopefully you picked up some tools there that you didn't know with using step build and extend. And feel free to check out the other videos. And if you like this video, please give me a like. Share the video with other people you think might also enjoy the video. And think about subscribing, please. Definitely helps me out and keeps me motivated to make more videos. If you have any other ideas for videos that you'd like to see me do, feel free to leave me a comment letting me know exactly what you would like to see, and I'll see if I can get around to making a tutorial just for you. So again, thanks for watching. Take care.